this thing's come out. I'll have to reuse them. Ugh. Boy, that looked gross. It's really heavy piece of metal. I think they aren't sided. I think they just go in. Take the other one out. That one came out real easy. Okay, lots of rusty brake fluid, so that thing has come out, but I'm going to go clean first. Okay, just checking all the parts, make sure I got everything. I've got new cable, got a new yellow spring for this one. I've got new cup, new pin, new spring there. Same on the other side. I've got the new spring that goes along this piece. I don't have a replacement for this blue spring here, or yellow spring, I don't know what color that is. I can't find that, it's not in the kit. I have a couple more extras of these, but I don't have any of those. I guess I have to reuse that one, I guess. Pulled those pins out of the piston, out of the wheel cylinder thing. They were horrible, but they didn't get cleaned up. And then I've got the big blue spring replacement here for this one. And then I've got my replacement washer and adjuster. I got the auto adjust lever left side ready to go. So I got everything except that. And I don't know why. Okay, so it's taken a while. I've matched up all these parts. I cleaned off the brake, emergency brake. You can see the parts. I cleaned off this middle brackety thing, whatever that is, I'm not sure. There's the spring I don't have a replacement for, but I cleaned. I think it'll be alright. There's this old brake shoe, and here's the other one. They're matched up correctly. The front should have a shorter amount of brake pad on it, which it does. On this side, there's less of this. I'm also not touching this with anything greasy. I'm using my fingers, and I also cleaned the floor around where I put these. So I cleaned these off, which are the pieces that go into the pistons on either side, just with sandpaper and a brush and all that. That's of course going to be replaced, that horrible looking thing. This is replaced. I don't know where a washer fell off of this. I don't know where it went. I assume it goes there, because this piece comes off like that. I assume, well, I think so. I'll have to look and make sure. But basically now, everything's ready. I also cleaned this off as best I could. And I cleaned off these contact points. There's 3 on this side, and there's 3 on the back side. And cleaned it all off as best I could. I also tried to sand and clean off the face of this, just because that's where the new drum's going to go. So my next step after lunch is to go in and actually remove that sucker, which is just 2 screws, but you also have to remove the brake line, which can get dicey, I assume. I did buy some special wrenches for that job. They're inexpensive, but they have the right fitting to go around the little nut, and they shouldn't strip anything, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, everything's going according to plan. It took forever to clean the stuff I wanted to clean, but everything's working except for missing that one spring. But we'll see how it all goes back together. Maybe taking it apart was easier. We'll see. Time for lunch. We got to remove this brake line, and there's a little nut on there, and I got to use a special wrench that increases the surface contact. And the problem is, you have to make sure that you can turn that thing, but you don't want to turn this. You got to go separate, because you're going to destroy your brake line. So that has to go on there, just so. And then you got to be able to move it without moving this. Oh, it's working. I'll be dang. So I'm going to put a little bit of paper towel under here, because brake fluid is going to come out. That's great news. That means it worked, and I'm hoping this will work. So I'm going to turn this thing off so I can put my paper towel in there. Sweet. I think it worked. You can see the little piece here. This little piece this should now pull out. What I'm going to do maybe is unscrew, you know, the pieces that are holding that piece, the piston in, and then this should come out. This is the bleeder that's part of that piston. So I'm going to go on the other side and well, actually here, I got to take these out and then pull that thing off, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to go and find what wrench that is first. Okay, so I got that thing off, or I got them off, and I'm just going to unloosen them by hand, hoping. There's one little bolt. And this should be the other little bolt. And there goes some brake fluid, which is fine. Okay, there's the other little bolt. This thing should come right out. And it did. Okay. Put some paper towel behind there to soak up some brake fluid. No great loss. Gonna sort of just try to clean this off a little bit. Use the brake fluid as a cleanser. This is where that piston thing goes. Make it as nice as I can. A replacement piece. And let's just make sure these are the same thing. They look the same. Okay, take off this little nipple, because that's the part where you're going to bleed the brakes with that little piece. And I'll hold the brake line from behind. Let's see, maybe put these in here. Because those must have been there and there, right? So maybe, what should I do first? Maybe get the brake line in first? That's what I should do first. Let's see. Where's the brake? Oh, jeez. Your doorknob. The brake line goes in here. So you gotta pull this little rubber thing off so that you actually replace the thread. You doofus. Huh. Not starting. So let's pull this out and make sure these actually go in here. Like they are. Run through. Run it through. Sometimes these things don't work. Right for the fact they got paint in them or something stupid like that. That looks good. Okay, let's try it again. Put that guy behind there like that. Slide Junior in there. Stick the brake line into the hole. Stick this thing, one bolt through there, and stick it in there. There she goes. There she goes, you little bugger. Okay, put this other one in the same way. Okay, that wasn't that horrendous of a job. Took a while to get that thing tightened again, though. I'm trusting that it is nice and tight. So this thing, you want to have it tight, but you can have it too tight, you'll strip stuff. There's the nipple for bleeding the lines again. And then I tighten these two guys down so the actual cylinder's good. What I got to do is I wipe this really clean, and I'll check it later to see if it's leaking. It shouldn't be, because this thing, I'm afraid to tighten it too much because my brake line is there. There's the new one installed. It's nice and tight, and all I need to do is I cleaned up these guys nice. They just fit in on either side here. And they have to put pushed in all the way, I believe. And we'll see how those go together. So the next thing is going to be to grease with some anti-seize or some high temperature grease these spots that need to be where the brake shoes ride, and then we'll start trying to put the dang shoes back on. Holy moly! On these spots here, where apparently the brake shoes rub up against, and you put on all 6 little places. All the way around. Wow, this stuff is messy. Don't slop it on, because the more of the stuff that's around, the more grease and brake dust, all kinds of other nice things end up sticking. So I'm just putting it. I've never done this before. That looks about right to me. Now, in preparation for putting this thing together, this thing needs to be greased on this end, and it needs to be greased in the threads. So I guess I'll do the threads first. A little bit of grease for this stuff here. This has to move very freely, apparently. You don't want it to stick, cause problems later. So screw that in place. Make sure it moves nicely. Pull it in place. Bring it out. You don't want it to seize, because that's what's helping you with all of your. That's an important piece. As is the washer that I dropped, that I can't pick up because I don't have fingernails. Yeah. I'll just drag it over here. Okay, like this. Then we'll put a little bit this part. To allow this piece to move freely, and that's where I put this little washer in first. Good. So this thing's ready to go. Now I gotta figure out which direction it goes. I can't remember, but next step now is to start putting the dang thing back together. So here goes nothing. Okay, I matched everything up like I said, so everything's ready. But one thing I had to do is put my brake piece in its new hole in the new shoe, and there's the little horseshoe washer that goes over that, or crimper. So I'm wearing clean hands here, and I'm trying not to touch the brake shoes. It was just in like so. Seems, well, yeah, it's just like that. Looks good. Maybe put a little anti-seize on that. Seems to me that you wouldn't want this to seize up either. Let's see where it. This stuff is really nasty. Let's see, how does it fit? It fits in here. Seems to me that little anti-seize there wouldn't be such a bad idea. Here and there. I don't know. Might be destroying the whole job. Seems to me that it might be a good idea. Maybe a little around here, because this thing has to spin around. No, I'll never be able to get that thing. I bet you I'll never be able to get my little... Bet you I'll never be able to get my little washer on there again. Probably gonna be what's gonna happen. Alright. So, let's see. This goes here. Like so. I got movement. And this just slides in easily. Let's see how easy that is. Look at that. It fits like a charm. And it's nice and smooth. Now all I gotta do is crimp these ends. Crimp them closed. I gotta get a pair of pliers to do that.